So we will present our very first lecture on metropolitan governance and our understanding of the problem. So first of all, I will explain how metropolitan regions came to life and why they came to life. And Mohammed will present the coherence between formal metropolitan structures and the reality of metropolitan regions, with a special focus on governance of infrastructures in metropolitan regions. And then we will discuss how to bridge this gap between what's the reality and what are the challenges to bridge the gap and what are possible solutions. So we believe metropolitan regions came to life because of a combination of four dominant factors: economic factors, technological factors, political factors, and social factors. And it's very the combination of these four factors that made the metropolitan regions came to life. So that actually created more special and institutional ties between different entities of the same region. If we take a look at the factors separately, the economic factor is one of the most important. You had very high pressure on the housing and the land development market to create metropolitan region. If you have one city where the housing market is saturated, then housing professional will push to extend the boundaries around this entity to develop a greater region. You have globalization and competitiveness. We think, different entities of the same region will think they will be more competitive if they get together than if they are separated. And then you have the job market. People are getting more and more specialized. You might need to travel for your job to the closest city in the region because you might not find this job in your own city. The technological factors, actually the metropolitan scale is the perfect scale for the development of infrastructure. It's the economic scale. For example, if you take one single city, it will not be the good scale to build a highway, but if you have two different cities separated by dozens of miles in the same region, that might be economically viable to develop a highway in this case. And you have technological scale. For example, for a sewage network, it's better to have a bigger entity, so a metropolitan entity, to develop such a network that really small geographic entities. And because of the nature of infrastructure, their interoperability and interconnectivity, this will push for the development of a metropolitan region. The third factor is the social factor. Because this metropolitan region gets more and more attractive, we have more and more diversity in different social classes, different, from economic point of view, classes with different incomes, different religion, different ethnicity. So these classes might not want to live all together. So you will notice some segregation. You will have some communities in different cities, but they might work with their same communities in the other city of the region. So there is this way a metropolitan feeling emerging. And the last factor is the political factor. When nothing is done from a political point of view, the political actors start to cooperate with one another. For example, in Lausanne, in Switzerland, you don't have a metropolitan region clearly defined, but the mayor of Lausanne is collaborating with the mayors of the other town around to see how they can help to integrate the transportation network and infrastructure. So it's the informal collaboration of political actors that also push for the emergence of the metropolitan region.
So, these four factors that Maxim mentioned, this is something that he proposed when you can say that these are not the right factors, But we believe that these are the main external factors that are just changing because of the global changes that we have. You know, the economy is changing globally with the globalization, so the metropolitan region cannot affect that. You know, the economy is becoming more global. Regions should become more competitive to attract the investment, the human labor to work in the factories. And they are just affected by these external factors in terms of economy, in terms of technology. The technology is changing. The new kind of infrastructures that you have requires a larger scale to operate. Politics, as Maxim says, and social factors assistance. And then this as Maxim explained, creates the ground for formation of a metropolitan region. So it doesn't mean that in the policies or in the rules it's called a metropolitan region. But this is what makes the ties and creates a functional metropolitan region. But these external factors, which are not influenced by the metropolitan region itself, have consequences for the governance of that specific region we're talking about. Okay, it's clear what I'm saying? The point is that we have some formal governance institutions and some informal governance institutions. As I said, the informal institutions might work, as it happens in the case of Lausanne, for example. You have EPFL, one example. EPFL is based in Ecoblan. It's another municipality from the city of Lausanne, but a huge amount of communication is happening between EPFL and the city. And because of that, they decided to make a metro line, which is passing all the different municipalities, which no single authority has the control to say it should be built or not. And it just comes out of a collaboration, a totally informal collaboration between these actors. This is not done in the best way it could be done. Now you have only one lane and they couldn't, make it as it was planned. But at the end, they made some collaboration with each other, some informal governance institutions was developed to solve a problem that happened in that metropolitan region. But the formal governance institutions, may feel, you will see an incoherence between the formal governance institutions and the reality of the situation in the region. As I said, Lausanne is still suffering from the traffic. When it's the closing time of EPFL, you see a traffic jam because something was done, but no one had the real authority to do all the integration in terms of a good planning for transportation of the metropolitan region. So you have, it's still a very clean city, but you have higher rate of pollution in Lausanne compared to other cities of Switzerland because of this strange arrangement that we have. The water is somehow a problem, the lake. Many people in EPFL do research because of the pollution of the Lake Geneva around Lausanne, because we cannot integrate the sewage network in a proper way. So formally you have problems between the governance institutions and the reality of the metropolitan region. And this lack of coherence happens in different layers if you look at metropolitan regions. At least this is how we conceptualize, but Carson can give us some feedback. We look at the metropolitan region as an economic system. People from economics, background, they look at the metropolitan region as an economic system, and then they start, developing right governance tools to manage the economic transactions in the region. You can think of it as a social system. It's a place that different groups are living, and you have subcultures in each of the neighborhoods, and you have to integrate them to deal with the issues of crime, etc. You have examples from Guadalajara, I think. Rich people are now going to Zapopan mostly. The city center of Guadalajara is becoming empty. You have crime issues because they don't feel living together in the same city.
That's creating segregation.
Oh, yeah, the social segregation that you have there, the gated communities. So we had a lot of sociologists talking about the case of Guadalajara. If you remember the module there, we had people coming from sociology background talking about the metropolitan region. Then you have a political system, of course. What's the jurisdictional boundary of the political entity? Who can make decision on specific issues in this region? It's a political system that we can understand. Then it can be understood as an ecological system. it's a water basin that needs to be managed, coherently, but usually it doesn't, because you have a water company for municipality A and B and C, so they don't really work together. But from an ecological perspective, the whole region is only one system. It's not 200 different systems. And then what is interesting for us in IGLUS is that you can also understand it as a socio-technical system. The connections between the different infrastructures that you have. It is serving the economy, it's serving the population, it's serving the ecology, but that's also a system that is built by engineers. Usually they don't think of it as a metropolitan system that they develop. They just think of the roads, from point A to B, but they are creating a metropolitan system of socio-technical, components, which is the energy system, the energy grid, the transport grid, the water grid, and that can be studied as a separate layer of the metropolitan region. Here I would like to have some examples from your own case of this incoherence, because I know Guadalajara, we were there, Dubai, we were there, and we saw a lot of interesting cases. Greece, you can give us examples, and of course, rule. This incoherence in the different layers of the metropolitan region, if you understand. Incoherence in terms of the governance of economic activities, incoherence in terms of the political governance issues, and ecologic, and also infrastructure, which is the focus of the session. So can you give us just some examples that you're suffering? Maybe from Guadalajara, we can start. Give us a little bit of background, because not everyone was in Guadalajara. So, how is it structured, and how is it functioning?
From my particular point of view, there's an institute, a Metropolitan Institute that it's recently created, but that institute doesn't have the legal framework support, so it's like kind of nothing. Then it's just like they are just like making some research, but they have like a committee that is created with the help of local municipalities, but they don't have. I cannot see like a clear leadership, and because local municipalities just say that okay, you will represent this municipality, and nobody knows that people. They are not like very technicians. They have no democratic process to be there.
But the main idea that let's create a Metropolitan Institute, which is working with UN also. The main initiative comes from each of these incoherences. They felt that there is a need for this institute, even though it's not functioning. But what was the main driver to design a new layer of governance in the city? Was it economy, politics?
A little bit of everything, because it's obvious that there's a need, and that's why that institute was created, because there are many problems. We actually don't know how many municipalities are in the metropolitan area. Some people say that there are 6, some others say that there are 8, 7. So first of all, we have to define who are the ones that are part of the metropolitan area. The geographically talking, and which are the main topics of how the main topics that or the main challenge that municipalities share. And I think it's as any other metropolitan areas: water, transportation, environment, security, education. There are many people that live in one municipality and every day has to go to work to other municipality, and every day has to study in other municipality. So they pay taxes for just one municipality, but they don't receive like the public services as they pay for it. So it's like a mess. I think that institute is like a good step, but I don't see like when that institute will work as we suppose.
I think there is something important in Mexico, especially in the Guadalajara case, because for me, the principal issue is about political.
Exactly.
Because of the division of the political and geography system in Mexico, because it's a federal first. Mexico, it's a federal government that has their own states, like here in Germany, and each state it's individual. They can make some laws for each other, so it's like there's a big gap between the municipality or the local government and the state government, and also for the federal government. So I think it's a political issue. I'm writing something about this, about the Guadalajara metropolitan area, how they need to cooperate each other, but also compete. Something like competition, like it's like a word that we are talking about. Because first you need to take all the money from around and all these opportunities, like you need tourism to come to the city, you need a lot of things, like companies to come to the city, but also once you have these companies inside the city, then you need to compete from which municipality are they going to build their fabrics.
I think we need to change some particular points of the legal framework. And also there's a cultural issue, like, corruption, the lack of willingness of the mayors, particularly the mayors, people to.
I've never been in Mexico, but by this discussion, I think that the political factors can be as a main factor, and the social and technological and economic is like a sub-factor of this one. As first, the political should have a make decision for the whole, and it will be as a leader for the other factors. This is only my opinion. Because when there is problem with political, the other factors cannot work and cannot work in the right way. It's only viewpoint.
What about Tehran? You have lived in Tehran.
For example, in Tehran, I think the main problem is about the political issues. When the political and the municipality and authorities they can work good together, and the social factors, for example, we would like democracy in the public spaces, and then everything can be solved step by step. But when there is problem with the political issues, so I think.
But in terms of the institutions in Tehran, you have a big municipality which manages the whole area of Tehran. They currently added a new municipality, the 22nd district, to the city to have a relatively perfect fit between the political jurisdiction and the judicial jurisdiction. But then you have another city which is just touching Tehran. In 5 years they will be connected. Which is Karaj. This is another city almost 40 kilometers away. But now these two cities are really getting together and forming a metropolitan region of almost 60 kilometers long, with more than 20 million people. And they are just emerging, the boundaries are really close now. They try to separate them, but it creates a lot of problem because in Tehran, for example, you have the perfect match between the political boundary and the spatial boundary, but because you cannot coordinate with Karaj, which is 40 kilometers long from you, but many people leave there, come to Tehran for the job, you have a huge problem with the traffic, with the water.
Exactly.
So politically, Karaj and Tehran are totally fine. They have their jurisdiction, they have almost 10 million in each, they can manage their infrastructure, but the link is not working properly. And for that we can devise a new political system, to merge them together, or maybe we can define some, not a political decision, but someone who just take care of the transport in these two regions. Because they develop their own economic policy, Tehran is doing its own economy, but the transportation is a big issue. So maybe the political layer is a problem, but But we can discuss, what's the really main issue? Is it only the politics? Is it the understanding of the social technical system in the region, etc.? But I would like to go to Yanis and Dogan as well.
I just want to make a comment about politics because I think we see it everywhere, and I think the main reason behind it is that everybody feels that powers or authorities will be taken over from their own jurisdiction and then move to another or a new authority that will become the new head of the city or the new head of town. So I think it's obvious that, and we know that every politician wants more power instead of less, so this becomes basically the main barrier behind it. I mean, in the Greek case, what we see is that we have a central government that has a lot of responsibilities when it comes to main infrastructures, such as trains, the metro, the airports, and electricity. And then, I mean, of course, we have the regions, which is very common in all European countries, and it's the basic geographic unit of reference, which control, I mean, in the case of Athens, the region is not much larger than the metropolitan area of Athens, but it is larger and includes a few islands as well, so this already creates a different, let's say, point of view in how we see the region. And then you have the municipalities. And in the case of Athens, we have the metropolitan area has 35 municipalities, from which the municipality of Athens is the largest with 700,000 people. And the region in total has 65. So basically the region is twice as large as the metropolitan area. And then you have the water company who controls wastewater and water supply, who is a separate entity for the whole metro area. And as a result, all the infrastructure providers are away from the city level and the regional level. But maintenance and the end user connections in most of the infrastructures are responsibility of the municipalities. So even though the system works so far, it doesn't mean that there is a city-wide or metropolitan-wide planning in place. And while we used to have through the respective ministry and organization just for Athens and Thessaloniki, the two largest cities of Greece, who were the metropolitan, let's say, planning authority. Due to the recent economic crisis and the measures, these organizations just became absorbed by the central ministry. So that was even a move back, instead of going forward, this authority, instead of being independent, it moved back and got absorbed by the ministry, so now it's just a central government department. And so this creates a lot of tension, and the municipalities, although there are some systems of informal systems or somewhat formal systems of cooperations through assemblies or through groups in order to discuss the mayors basically, we see that this is not happening. And what I'm also writing in this, let's say, preparatory assignment is that in cases where you don't have anything and you go directly to informal, I think it just doesn't work. I think it's a weird step to take in places where you don't see official cooperation happening. So that's what we're dealing with.
Dogan, you have a different case.
Yeah, I'd like to add on what we spoke about, those dimensions, economic, social, and political angles. I think that those dimensions do not only vary from one city to another, but also within the same city, depending on the developments around that city and the country itself. I'd like to give an example from Istanbul, my home city. Up until 10 years ago, the politicians and practitioners didn't really care that much about the social angle. It was only about providing services, utilities to the growing population in the city. Istanbul has historically been a city where domestic migrants moved to for employment opportunities and other things, but never it had received immigrants from other countries. And in the last 5 years, we had growing Syrian communities inside Istanbul and Iraqi communities as well, and African also. And now social matters are becoming more and more, critical to the city, and we had some issues, some frictions between Turkish communities and others. This is just an example to how it can change for one city itself, regardless of others.
And maybe you can reflect also on the case of UAE, because you have Dubai, you have a very clear distinction of power between the Emirates. Each emirate is on its own, like a state, almost totally independent. But you are working for RTA, right?
Yes.
Which is a road and transport authority, which has the authority for the transport infrastructure in the whole country, right? Or you correct me?
For the Emirates, only for the Emirates, the
Yeah.
Dubai Emirates.
Only for Dubai Emirates, but it's
We're not
not.
interfering in Sharjah or
Okay.
Abu Dhabi. They all have their own transport departments.
Okay.
And for instance, Abu Dhabi has a Department of Transport, which only looks at the Abu Dhabi region and border.
And then what do you do in case of conflicts? Because we experienced this traffic in the connection between Dubai and Sharjah, and everyone was, and we could see, as I told you, the metro line was just, finishing on the border of Dubai and Sharjah. The beam was there, the rail was still there, but it didn't continue to Sharjah because there are two different municipalities. And it creates a huge problem for transport. We could see, the highway, the Sheikh side, that's the one. Is always crowded during the morning and on the way back. So who is managing? Politically everyone is happy. I have my own territory. I can decide whatever. But we could see in terms of delivery of the service, the transport, for example, there is a need for metropolitan coordination, which was not happening. So is there any move toward developing a metropolitan authority, for example, for transport or for energy?
As I see it, I've been in Dubai for the last 1 year. My observation is that we have, in UAE, we have a Ministry of Transportation for the country itself, which is placed over all the Emirates, and there are vertical communications between each Department of Transportation and the Ministry of Transport. But between the Department of Transport and each emirate, there aren't many communication and communication opportunities, and usually you only report back to the ministry, and like between Sharjah and Dubai, when it comes to calculate traffic generated for a certain development, it's always disregarded, as it is like only an issue that has to be resolved by the other emirates, and the ball is passed to the other side. But we need to have more, inter-department communication. I think it's very vital.
Great. Maybe Bahrain, if you think of it as a metropolitan region.
It's really difficult.
It's really difficult, yeah, to talk about Bahrain as a metropolitan region.
The whole country, even?
The whole country, but
Metropolitan
yeah. What I can add on top of the Dubai side, as we are neighbor for United Arab Emirates, so what I see is they have, as you know, United Arab Emirates, the similar of United States, federals, small federals. The thing is, in the United Arab Emirates, the metropolitan, let's say, region is there, but it's not activity. This is the main, from my point of view, this is the main things that happen in the Emirates, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. You have all different kind of ties, between the different nodes, in the region. But the layer that formally governing as a metropolitan region is not there.
Probably there's something missing there. I mean, it's not that political system, but also an institutional system.
Yes, exactly.
There's a difference between them.
Exactly. This is the formal governance institutions. It's not,
Yeah.
Sometimes we miss the politics with all the institutions.
Yes.
So we can separate them. Institutions are a little bit wider than only politics in terms of, the people who get the vote or, the
The
politicians.
political parties.
These are the structures, the rules, the informal part of the culture even. You wanted to add something, Kim?
In Mexico, we need politics for metro regions because Mexico is a metropolitan country. We have 60 metropolitan areas. Maybe the main Mexico City is the largest, 20 million people, similar to Tokyo. Guadalajara is the second largest, is almost 5 million people, and it's shaped by 9 municipalities, and has a really normativity clear, but in the practice it's different. No? What I think is the problem in Mexico is we have a lot of land, and developers knows it. I think because maybe in the boundary with the United States, we have some cities got out fast, like Ciudad Juárez, and they have a very, very good urban plan for control the sprawl, but don't get applicate because the developers don't allow it. Similar. I think so. It's not only politics. It's many factors. There are many factors that but federal government is working in urban reforms, but it's stopped because developers don't. It's really interesting all the situation in Mexico, but we need solution.
I can see a clue for every metropolitan regions, like the lack of vision as a metropolitan region, not just like local governance. That I think that can enclose all that.
Very good. So this you don't need to read totally, but our discussion in IGLUS is about governance of large urban infrastructures, which we mean urban infrastructures. So it's called large urban systems, but the main focus is on infrastructures. And this is what we are trying to develop. It's not finalized, and probably you cannot read. But I will just explain very generally. We have the governance institutions, which are the rules, the different actors that are there, and all the relations which are defined in the system. So you have a governance institution generally that creates something we call the institutional setup, which has an economic dimension, has a social dimension, political dimension, and technological dimension. You have rules that says, who is in charge of decision making. The politics is very clear, but it also creates some economic dimension. For example, in developing a new factory in that region, who will have a say? It's not all about political decision making, or raising or reducing the taxes. So all the rules that you creates a net of different, ties between the economy, social dimension, technological dimension, and political dimension. And here I just want to jump to this. I'm showing you this part to elaborate that this political dimension which I'm talking is not the same as this political factor which you said. These are the general the general forces that are shaping the metropolitan governance metropolitan region, And here I'm talking about politics of infrastructure, economy of infrastructure, technology in infrastructure. And as you were saying, I just want to raise the main challenges that we face when we want to have the coherence, the coordination between the governance structure and the metropolitan region. The first, you said, the political dimensions. All the power conflicts that you have, municipalities do not want to lose their power. So you have the metropolitan region, you want to add a metropolitan governance structure, but politics is a problem because of all the power conflicts that you have. And this is one, this is in the horizontal layer, which is between the municipalities, and also, the vertical layer. The federal state does not want to lose the power, to the municipalities, like what's happening in Mexico. So vertically and horizontally, you have the problem with the politics. Technological dimension is tricky. You will have the perfect match between the political boundaries and the spatial boundaries. But when you want to integrate the whole system, technology does not let you to do it so, because some part of the infrastructure are totally new. Zapopan and Guadalajara, for example. Zapopan is developed recently, so the infrastructure is far more advanced compared to Guadalajara, which is older. And then you want to connect two technical systems which are not matching perfectly. You want to connect the water system, the sewage system, but these two do not really function together because of a purely technological dimension. It's not about politics. It's about the edge, about the technology that we use there, who maintain the infrastructure better than the other one. So Zapopan will surely go against combining the whole infrastructure together as a metropolitan infrastructure, because the situation in Guadalajara is really worse, and then they have to pay taxes, to maintain the infrastructure in Guadalajara, which they don't want to. And then also the silo thinking. You want to have a metropolitan governance structure for the whole socio-technical system if you would like it, but the guys in the transport department do not want to talk to the energy guys. And then you need both of them to talk, because you want to develop a new rail, for example, network, and then it needs the energy guy to really collaborate with you. But they don't want to think together, because I'm the transport guy, you are the energy guy, we are not going to talk together. And this is very, very prominent in the engineering fields. They really do not take the others into account, which is a pity. But then economic dimension is of course a big issue. Imagine that we develop a metropolitan governance structure. Then you have all the different kinds of economic conflicts that you have. Who should pay the tax? Who will get the benefit? Zapopan, they will pay a huge amount of tax. But should it really go to build new schools in Guadalajara, or I want to keep it in my own neighborhood? To bring the more rich people to my municipality, get more tax, be more prosperous. And this, you can reflect maybe.
Actually, federal government created like a budget for metropolitan regions in Mexico, but that's one of the reasons that some rural areas around Guadalajara's metropolitan area want to become part of the metropolitan area. So now
because they are poor.
They want that budget.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, you come, you will have the budget, but you really are not part of the metropolitan area because you're still rural, but you are near. It's like.
So it's not only politics that I don't want to share my power with other municipalities, but also economy. There is the money, I don't want to share it with
But
anybody
we are
else.
going back to the point that we already discovered, that is technical problems is because we didn't plan the city.
Exactly.
So.
Or you just planned the city maybe.
Well,
You were just planning the city, you were not planning the region.
Yeah, exactly. So once again, we are like doing the same mistakes that we already know.
But we also have like a metropolitan institute for the sewage and the water, the water system. So it's something missing there, because we are like independent local government that are working together for the sewage and the water service. So it's like something important there. You should go to Mexico.
People really don't know if citizens have a water problem or a sewage problem, they really don't know if they have to go to the state government or to the
Yes.
municipal government. They went to the municipal government and municipal government easily said, I know, I wash my hands because that's a state problem. And citizens, okay, I will go to the state government. State government, please help me with, no, that's the responsibility of the municipal. So it's like, it's not very clear.
And then also, there is another dimension in the economy, which is the diversity in the preferences. Imagine that, in the political level, everyone agrees that, okay, we allocate the resources this way and we create a metropolitan region, and then everything will be connected. But then people do not like to use the same kind of service. This is what's happening in US. You have neighborhoods which are more fancy, you have it in Mexico, the gated communities. They don't want to use the same service that is provided by the city to all different citizens. They want to be separated because of some social dimensions, of course, but economically they want to have perfect, water, perfect connection to energy, security, of course. So the taste for services are not also the same. Even if everyone agreed that, in the political dimension, technological dimension, economic dimension, we mix it together, then people do not like it always, because they have different tastes and they don't want to be treated the same way in some cultures.
And you also are paying some taxes for these gated communities. So there's like a president of this. Actually, I'm the president for my gated community. So all my neighbors are paying to the commitment for the maintenance of this gated community or this gated neighbor. So it's like you are paying taxes for the local government, also for the state government and for the federal government, but you are also paying taxes for your gated community. It's like 200 houses inside this gated community, so it's like
This site's involved with Texas. I mean, how much money do you
It's not the
It's
taxes.
like $100 per month.
charge? You use it.
Yeah, it's like for maintenance. Because
Private
yeah.
security.
Private security for the garbage, also for the water and the sewage system, and for lighting. And we have like a club with a pool and also like a for sports and something. Like sometimes there's like a soccer field, a football field, and sometimes a tennis court. So you need to pay for the maintenance of this stuff, that amenities that are inside the gated community. So
And they are so powerful. I remember there was
Yes.
a case, there was a road which was supposed to pass a certain neighborhood, and then there's a gated community, so you cannot pass through them.
you need an identification, and you need a lot of things to get inside this gated community.
Yeah.
So they really
But there-
work on their own because they don't want to.
But there's a problem because one of the principal avenues of that, the one that you said, I think is Puerta de Hierro, one of the principal avenues is a public avenue. So government should pay for what they think they should pay, not like for everything. So it's like they are very convenient.
Yeah, you have all the different challenges. Mexico,
Housing,
Guadalajara is.
housing developers said, okay, here the land is cheaper, I will build here 100 of houses.
Yeah.
Then, after we finish, we should ask the government to make a road.
I have a question regarding the gated community. My question is, this gated community, it will not be target for the gangs, or because I'm gonna feel like, oh, they are wealthy and they have some of valuable things on their home. They will not be targeting by gangs or these things or the sort of, even from the different social dimensions, maybe, or the poorer, why they live there. Any type of driveness maybe lead them to target this community. There is no such things like that.
It's supposed to be, but we have like for 200 houses, we have 5 guards inside the gated community. They are armed.
Yeah, big
They-
guys.
We also have
Cameras.
electric fence around the wall because we have a wall outside, so you only have one entrance to this gated community. There's 2 guards, and also there are 3 guards, like looking around, and also an electric fence, and a very good lighting of the night. We have all this alarm for if there's something inside that he's not living there, so it's very secure. I think when you are going out, this gated community is where you can be on some unsecure things.
One question for this gated communities, because you are part of a municipality.
Yes?
So what is the competencies? How are they distributed? Because you said you have to take care of water, sewage.
Yes.
So
Water, sewage, waste
Security.
management, security, lighting, pavements,
So
Green maintenance.
green maintenance. Oh, this is it's
This
like
is really
a,
a city.
it's like a
so
city.
the municipality delegates these competencies to you.
No.
It's a private land. It's
Oh,
like,
private.
yeah, it's a private land. We call condominiums.
Okay.
It's a private land. It's my own land. It's like, do you have your own policy inside your home? Or the government come inside your home and say you are gonna put this picture here and also you're gonna put the kitchen here? No, because it's private. So you're living in a private land, but with a lot of neighbors. It's the same.
I
So-
can sell the home if I live there. I can sell the house for anyone,
Yes.
or there is some certain criteria for who's living there.
No. There's
There are
like a
some
commitment. There's like a commitment
There is
that
a criteria, which is the price,
Yes,
they have
because
it.
it's so high.
because the price is so high, and also there's like a commitment who decide if you can sell your house to a person.
But do they have to buy the house or just rent the house? They
Buy.
have to buy.
Yeah, they can buy
The
or rent.
economic factors is more important than the other thing. That when everybody wants to live in this neighborhood,
Yes.
should have a good economic level, and then he can stay there. Is that?
It's like,
There
for
are,
example,
there are condominium of different
levels.
levels,
Yes.
economical levels. You have
Alright.
So let's continue the gated community discussion after that, and then we can also come to Guadalajara. But that's a perfect example to show that you have all the different challenges to integrate them together. People do not feel like living together. They make the wall, and then what do you want to do? They have their own power to decide, on the water, sewage, garbage, electricity, even the lighting, not electricity. But then how do you want to talk about a metropolitan governance structure when you have all these nucleus inside your system, and then the municipalities? That's the same story. You have Zapopan, Guadalajara, Tlaquepaque, and then so you have all these challenges. That's a great illustration. But for the details of gated community, please go to Robin after the break.
or go to the
I'm the president for my own gated community.
So this is just to raise your awareness that when we talk about governance of metropolitan socio-technical systems, governance of infrastructures in the metropolitan scale, then we are not only talking about politics. Politics is very important, but you have the technological dimension, economy, as we said, and social, as you heard about. So what I would like you to do is to fill a worksheet which we prepared for you. The first part you have already answered, more or less. If you can help me
Yeah.
with this, maybe. No. It will take almost 20 minutes. We have enough or not? real quick. The first part you have already answered. You don't need to invest a lot of time. We discussed it. The areas of incoherence between the reality of the metro region and the formal governance system in terms of politics, economy, and environment, we have discussed it. But I would like you to focus on the technological systems. For example, transport, energy, water, waste, and housing. What are the incoherences that you see in your own metropolitan region between the governance structures and the reality of these networks? I gave some examples of the transport in Dubai, for example. You have connections between all these municipal Emirates, Sharjah and Dubai. So there is a connection, people are moving, but there is no formal transportation authority to take care of that functionally. There is a ministry, but it doesn't solve the problem. So these kind of examples that you are facing in Guadalajara, and I don't know, you can talk about Ruhr or Tehran and Bahrain and Athens. And then after that, there are also two other questions on the back. So once you mention some examples, then choose one of them and put 3 or 4 main questions that you would like to have the answer for at the end of the module to solve this incoherence problem. You find a problem in transport governance, for example, in the metropolitan region in your city, you are interested in that. Then what are your main 3-4 questions that you would like to have an answer at the end of the Dortmund module? How do they solve it here, in terms of financing the infrastructure, making the decisions, collaborating with the housing planning, list 3 or 4 questions that will help us, to understand what is the most interesting question for you till the end of the module. And then we try to address it in the course of 2 weeks. And then, very generally, what else would you like to learn during this module? Besides the Metropolitan Governance Discourse, which is the main theme, what else would you like to understand at the end of the 2 weeks? It's clear? Good? No?
So what is the discussion later?
Yeah, later we come to this discussion.
Because it's like individual assignment.
No, this is personal.
How can we?
No, later for this, which was the main question of the precautionary walk, we will need a discussion.
That's what I'm like. Puzzle.
Don't worry. This part I think. Almost 20 minutes. Let's focus. That's an important exercise for us for the next 2 weeks. Take it serious.
Joining the first part.
No, the first part, and you don't have time. Focus on infrastructure. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Don't hesitate.
Yeah, sorry, I have.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be able to.
Yeah, I don't know that. Technology is the same, but just part of in the transport is a little different than the central.
it's okay. Just think of the other examples of transport, for example, energy. Just take the what are the main three questions that you would like to understand? Yeah, so what do you want to ask question? In terms of, the law, the money. If you just give us some examples from this, just some examples.
Mohammed.
That is more relevant to your own job.
Okay.
More area of interest. And the questions that you have to form a formal metropolitan governance system to solve that incoherence. For example, transport, we have an uncoordinated system.
In this case, it is coordinated by the central government.
Okay. So there is a level of coordination.
Yes.
The one that doesn't have the
When you say housing, what do you mean? Housing?
maybe it's a level we should be just calling the spatial planning, the land use planning. Is it done by the Metropolitan Institute of Planning, for example, that every municipality plans its own land use, and then creates problem for the whole region?
Yeah.
Because they create new transport and energy. That's not the case.
So this is planning.
Yeah. So sewage. Need more time or? Ready? Shall we start again? Let's start, and then if you need more time, maybe at the end we can take maybe 5 more minutes to finish. Now that we had this general discussion, okay, about metropolitan governance and the metropolitan region, I would like to refer to the text that you were supposed to read and do the assignment for, and ask one of you to become the discussion leader for presenting your model of developing the metropolitan governance system. So who would like to share his or her thinking? You did the assignment, Hilda did the assignment, some of you didn't do assignment, so please do it next time. But the ones who did the assignment, you want to share your diagram with us, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Not sure?
Don't as well.
You also sent it this morning, so.
You're talking about the framework, right?
Yeah.
We have paper if you would like just to share what you understood from the papers.
And then
Yeah, we will have slides after that, but if you give us your own understanding, that's, to the class.
I kind of created the process to get there,
Okay, cool.
not the framework of
Yeah, the
operation.
strategy and
Yeah. So should I talk about that?
yeah, it's good if you just.
If you want to do it as a friend,
Draw, or you can just explain as you want.
Okay. I was trying to think that what would be the process to get there without like, what can I say, like the most efficient framework to get to forming a metropolitan region in case there is one. Because so the way I draw it is that I put, of course, politics on the top, and then I move from politics. Can you see it? To expertise. Then moving to the issue of boundaries and how basically you define the boundaries and what they should be, because basically I'm arguing that there should be boundaries in the metropolitan region. And then how these boundaries basically translate to the respective authorities and, let's say, powers. And then, so this is the authority and the powers of the metropolitan region that supposedly you conclude after you have defined the boundaries. And then this feeding back to the politics by using financial support or incentives. So like I draw this as a circle, like trying to see how you can get from here to here, and the only way to get here is by these guys understanding what would be their added value in terms of funding. Because all politicians require more power, but more funding as well. They don't want power if they don't have the necessary funding behind it. So I assumed that by doing all this exercise, reaching here, which is what would be the appropriate authorities or powers of the metropolitan region as you have defined it according to the boundaries, then the next step would be to realize and use financial support or incentives so that the politicians will understand the added value of this whole process. This is, I think,
What will create the politics?
in clean what I described.
What will really persuade the politicians, because you put the politics at the beginning, to start thinking of expertise in the metropolitan region-wide?
No, I think
To define the boundaries.
in the beginning it's a political decision of someone.
Okay.
But then if you start the process, there is always someone that wants some type of metropolitan authority, either the one who wants more power or in the other way. So even if you start the process and you reach here and you find the mix of authorities, powers, and the funding that follows it, then you can feed back and see if the political decision is worth taking it or not.
So it starts from politics, a political decision will be made, as you were also raising the case that politics is the most important issue, and expertise will be developed to define new boundaries for the metro region and metro governance institutions, and then it hopefully results in some financial payback that persuade the politicians to really continue the process.
Yeah, and just here, I took some few criteria that here under the boundaries you have the governance, fragmentation that you should take into account, and that these two basically, they are interrelated in terms of the best practices that we find.
Yes.
So now it's complete.
Great.
I was thinking more like in a machine than a circle.
Okay.
It's like what I can understand more about the lecture, or from the lectures, is like more like a machine that it's like there's a lot of facts. I mean, I will divide this machine in two main things. First are elements, like the first questions on this, and there are requirements on the other hand. So there are a lot of elements like social cohesion, and also territorial cohesion, environmental cohesion. You need a solid government, not that, institutions, solid institutions, and also cooperation between neighborhoods, and some political agreements. That it's the first thing that we were talking about. Those would be the elements. And also you have the requirements in the other hands. Probably define the institution coverage. It's something important. An institutional thickness and democratic depth, something that we read from the lectures. And social participation is very, very important thing on metropolitan governance systems. We have a lot of social participation in Mexico. And sometimes social participation can be a problem. And healthy relationship between higher level governments and economic things with the private sector. Healthy relationship with the private sector, all NGOs and all this.
So you were thinking that there are some.
I have this.
Okay, you have it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the laptop is big enough, you can just.
Information.
Yeah, very engineer.
So it's like a machine. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Great.
everything like working.
I talk more like a process or having an efficient metropolitan.
Okay. You want to share it or?
Maybe.
Yeah, if you want.
I mean, for me,
It's
it's
like
Yeah.
very
like
Yeah, but try
instead
to
of a
present
circle,
everything.
like a
Okay.
Think of you're talking to your conceal or something that, okay, this is the way we should.
contribute to with the requirements that are working together, then we have a metropolitan that
But
is
just try to keep the
working
summary.
well.
there.
These maps.
So we need all of this in order to do this, and also.
Thinking about like a process,
Okay,
my starting point is like analyze conditions. That has to be with many things, like geography, not just like physical geography, as a more like geopolitics, like economy, but not just local economy. We have to take care of global economy. The legal framework, which are the available resources, not just natural resources, infrastructure resources, technological resources, whatever. The cultural identity for me is very, very important because it's what gives sense to the people for living in one place or another. The same as cultural identity and social composition, economically, education, and these are like the main points that we have to analyze. Then, from here, we have we can have which are the common needs, and then with the needs we take out, we can have which are the motivations for the political willingness. And from here we can take we can have data collection. In order to can have a strategy. So from here, before strategy, the vision or the regional goals could be. Then it's very important for me to have that metropolitan areas can have a long-term plan. I need more space, but I will explain. I will explain from here. This long-term plan has to have structure. With all this analysis, we can have a structural transformation of the political system or the governance boundaries in political and economical terms. Then we can have with the long-term plan short objectives. Part of the strategy I also Ruben said why I think it's very important social participation in different ways, but not just for the implementation. Since the creation or since planning something, and it's very important also agreements between stakeholders.
So if you describe it, it's what I got from Ruben is also it's a top-down approach, someone should do an assessment of the condition, decide, what are the needs. It's a very top-down approach that someone decides that, okay, we need this, more or less like what Yanis was also saying, some politician, someone will make a decision that we need a metropolitan governance institution, and then, go through a process which you say, we describe it, the assessment, all that. Is it a top-down or a bottom-up? Because you also talk about participation.
Yeah, but
Or
for
mix.
example, in participation, education for citizens, it's so, okay, government has to educate citizens in some part, even citizens are participating, but they have like showing the way or the map for doing participation, social participation. And they also have to participate on the implementation of all the process. And in the operation and management of the system, they should not have like participation because it would, or they take out the power of the, or the control of the governance. And then I take like many factors that metropolitan governments should participate, like in terms of tourism, public safety, education, healthcare, water, energy, environment, transportation, connectivity, and commerce. I think they should, as a metropolitan government, they should delegate in some part, like from leadership or an institution. They should have like representatives from each of that topics. Or maybe a metropolitan parliament, I don't know, it depends on the analysis of these conditions. And at the end, like kind of evaluation, as Jani said, like and constant innovation, like a part of a result of the evaluation. And then you can go again to the short objectives to redefine. But if you redefine the vision constantly, I think you will not go to anywhere. So, something like that.
Very good start. Let me just jump to the summary of the text. We have almost 20 minutes, but I will come to your points when I reflect on this. This is my very condensed understanding of the papers that we sent to you. There are several consequences of lack of a metropolitan governance structure. The first is that there is an absence of territorial control. No one has the control over the territory. Lack of a structural collaboration for solving the problem. There is no control, first of all, but there is also not the capability to collaborate. And then in management capacity and experience, you also have problems because people are not used to solving very big, complex problems. They always do with their small municipality-related issues. And there are several ways that are used to address these challenges. Absence of territorial control. What they usually do is to modify the administrative organization. There is a new rule, Istanbul. Now we make the Istanbul, it's Istanbul Büyükşehir. Yes, Istanbul Büyükşehir, which is the Istanbul big city that covers all the region. That the whole territory is governed by this single authority, and then the problem for lack of control is solved. On the paper. Then lack of a structural collaboration for solving common problems. It's mostly the leadership, that someone takes the lead that, okay, we have to solve this issue. For example, the case of, you remember the case of Stuttgart, right? That the economy is going down, so someone will take the lead, or a big municipality maybe takes the lead that, okay, we cannot tolerate this. We have to collaborate with each other, which is mainly the leadership. And then shortcomings in management capacity and experience is mostly by enhancing the capacity for networking. You cannot develop the whole capabilities in one municipality, and you cannot, bring the people outside the region. So what you have to do is to enable them to network more with each other, like the case of Stuttgart, as we read. that because you have a common background, people are coming from the same educational background, usually they can really collaborate with each other and you can facilitate the networking because of the special condition they have there. So this is a very short summary of the three main challenges that you have when you don't have metro governance structure and the three general solutions they propose for it.
Yeah, there's something that is coming to my mind about modifying the administrative organization. How can you modify this administrative organization without bureaucracy? I mean,
Bureaucracy.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like if you are trying to grasp everything, probably there will be a lot of bureaucracy inside of that. So
Yeah.
it's like a weak problem.
Maybe with technology, we can use like e-governance.
But here, for example, in Guadalajara, maybe you can never do that because the power structure in Mexico is totally different from Istanbul. In Istanbul, Erdogan, was the mayor of Istanbul and then he became the prime minister. So there is a strong tie between Istanbul and the central government. And then they decided, okay, this should be done, then it's done. Because there is a different power structure. It's much more vertical. So people accept that. In Mexico, it will be much more harder. I don't know, in China, maybe Nika can give us some examples, but that's another context, that you have to form this, to reform the administration. You definitely need to go through the bureaucracy, but this is not always the same. In Mexico, it's very complicated. In Istanbul, it might be easier. In Emirates, that's another story. So it depends. I agree, but there are solutions to go through that. And again, not a single solution of what happened in Istanbul can be implemented for Mexico as well, because people do not accept it simply. Istanbul, okay, this is the new region, everyone accepts. Guadalajara, this is the new region.
Nobody
What?
said nobody.
They simply do not accept.
Everybody protest.
Yeah, you have protests, people will not accept, politicians will go crazy. So that's a very different kind of condition.
I need to have 2 points. One is in Mexico, the mayors are only 3 years in the administration. And the case of Guadalajara is the example because 9 municipalities with 3 mayors with 3 years. Now is the first time that we can the opportunity for the mayors is re-elected. It's interesting to view what is the results. Other point is. I think so. In Mexico, we confuse the citizen participation with real citizen participation. Why? Because people protest, not participate in build projects or build programs. I think so. It's very important to build the shape of citizen participation. But really.
Okay, so this is the main point from the Seller and Hoffman paper. This is a very nice illustration of two working together. And I will focus on this institutional fitness. So they have lower, moderate, and higher levels of metropolitan coordination, and this institutional fitness is very interesting for me because the lower version is that you only have inter-community cooperation, then moderate is that you have an authority to take care of the special sectors, and then the highest version is that you have a metropolitan form, and then I just relate this to this part, that in the highest version you really define a new administration. For the moderate version, you try to have a leader for some specific sector, or if you cannot do anything, at least you can try to enhance the capacity for cooperation between different actors. But this is my very simplified summary of the process. It's super simplified, but what I see is that you always have external factors that sometimes can work as a mediator. Economic shock in Stuttgart, that's the fact. Water in Guadalajara, that can be an initiative, because you see that the quality of water is just going down and the greens are vanishing. So there are some external factors that combined with the evolution of the metro region, makes kind of a common understanding that we should really think of our region as a metropolitan region, not our simple municipality boundaries.
And also natural disasters can be an external factor.
Exactly. There is a flooding issue, in the region, and then,
Earthquake in Istanbul.
for example, the
They're waiting for some big earthquake.
So these two will help you, or the society, to come up with a common understanding that this is a metropolitan region that we have to deal with. Then the internal pressures, as Yanis was saying, and many of you also said, someone should start, putting some pressure that now we have to change something to deal with this metropolitan region. We cannot do the usual business and deal with the metropolitan challenges that we have. So some pressures, mainly from the actors, should go. It can be because they see a lack of efficiency. You remember, from the text, the reports by the World Bank. The transport does not function efficiently if you manage it this way. So someone will take a lead that, we need better, efficient transport network. We have to make a change in some parts. This is, I think, the real case in Guadalajara. You have all these issues, you have problem with water, it's really an agglomeration of 8-9 million people that are not coordinated, and everyone is fed up that, it's the Guadalajara metropolitan area, but it's not managed as a metropolitan region. So some people, even though not very effectively, started the initiative that, let's develop this metropolitan council with help of UN, because they have the expertise, they can help us to do this. We don't have the expertise, but UN will help us. So they did something together to make changes in the rules, and I think David Gomez? Yeah. David Gomez and their team, we will go to this Metropolitan Forum. Now they launched the Metropolitan Forum, they want to raise the agenda for metropolitan governance in Mexico, make changes in the constitution if they manage. But they are really trying to do something, and it's the pressure from one of the main actors. You have a question?
Yeah, but is this kind of like a reactive framework, trying to react to something that's not working? And I think it's a little sad that we have to reach a phase where a lot will suffer in one way or another, or the environment, to react to something that we see instead of doing it progressively.
Yeah, but I agree, and it's the sad story everywhere. Even big organizations which are very agile, it takes them so much time. When their revenues are really going down, then they realize, I should do something, for my organization, do a restructuring or sell some business units, bring some new. But it's always a crisis that put you in the mood of change.
And I would like to add to that, but maybe you could extend the external factors to something like trends. For example, we've been talking about the smart city before. Even though you don't have a huge crisis, recessional hazard, you say, everybody's doing smart city. This is your crisis you're facing. We're supposed to come up with something fancy right now as well. So maybe it doesn't actually you don't need people to suffer. Actually, maybe you can just say, metropolitan governance, we learned in the IGLUS masters, we're supposed to do that now. So that is the external factor. Could be too.
But smart cities, for example, also arise from a need of having an efficient city, and having an efficient city, it's like smart city is like a solution or a way for having a better city. So like one way.
Well, smart city can become a solution if it meets the needs.
Exactly.
I think there are many smart city initiatives that are just based on the fact that political leaders need a new topic to sell to the voters.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we can put it as an external factor. There is kind of a pressure that we should do something, otherwise we will not look fancy, or people will not simply come to our city to invest. So there will be hopefully some changes in the rules and regulations. Now, if you want to make the metropolitan governance a formal institution, not only informal collaborations. And then changes in the rules and regulations hopefully will facilitate the collaboration between the actors. And here again, these internal pressures, if this doesn't work perfectly, then they will start to collaborate somehow, even though you couldn't change the rules. Because, for example, when it's mediated by an external factor, there is a flaw, there is no rule for collaboration really, but then the actors start collaborating with each other. And it will deliver a performance, certain performance, the quality will go better, this is what Yanis put there. There should be some gains that you achieve from changing the institutions. And when you have this performance, achieved, then these actors probably get more power. And they can really push more for a change in the rule. This is the strategy I understand from the case of Mexico. These people really started a very informal, just advisory council for metropolitan governance. And they try to play with very small initiatives that they can really improve the situation to get more power and then to go to the administration and say that, okay, I'm talking about something which delivers the performance you are asking for. And then they can make the changes and make the match between the institutions and the reality of the region. But this is very simplified, and the performance, of course, will have influences on the external factors. You solve the problem with the water basin that you have, so the flood will not come there anymore, and then, hopefully it will help in this process of making the change. And also the evolution of the metro, as I said. The final slide that I have, and then we leave because we're asking for on-time breaks. My main point here was that developing a metropolitan governance institution, a formal metropolitan governance institution, is not only about politics. That was my main point. You have to take into account the technological dimension. You have to take into account the economic dimension and also the social dimension. It's not that, okay, politically it's good to have a metropolitan region. You have to take care of all of them, otherwise it will be a dysfunctional metro region. You don't have the technical expertise to connect the networks together. You don't have clear understanding of the economy in the region, so the politics is integrated, but the economy is not functioning as a whole, and then it will lead to a failure. Then the other point I wanted to raise is that as far as we deconceptualize governance, it's a tool that leads you to the desired level of performance. And for us, efficiency, resilience, sustainability are the three important performance dimensions. So whatever changes we make in the governance institutions should address the three of them in the best case. But it's very complicated to achieve. But none of them should be ignored. Just focusing on efficiency, that okay, we want a better operating energy system, for example. And then we make changes which doesn't take into account the resilience or sustainability. Will be a failure right here. For example, just adding to it, but we integrate the whole network for the energy, grid, production, everything, give it to one single company. They have control over the whole territory. It's all perfect in terms of match between the governance and the reality. But then there is a shock. This single company failed to deliver service, or they are not competent to manage the service. And when there is a shock, the heat wave, then you have blackout. Why, if you were thinking that okay, efficiency is not the only condition that we should take into account, resilience is also important. Maybe I develop 2 or 3 different providers and distributors, which is not that efficient in terms of the match between governance and the reality, but it will be more resilient. And it might help me to become more sustainable. Because I give it to one company, they invest only on one technology, it will be cold forever, and then you don't have any strategic niches that brings new initiatives that can change the whole landscape in the city. So these 3, if you are thinking of the long-term performance of the system, then should be seen together. Otherwise, it will not function in the long term. So if you have any question, I'm here, and then we go for lunch. inputs.